Um, so the first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about the literature search homework. So and the red wine. So this is a really important assignment because it is kind of getting you used to searching the literature, citing the literature. Um, this one is only worth 10 points, but it's kind of getting you ready for the research project, was going to be worth as much as an exam. Um, so it's really important. Like, if you don't have this down, then you are not going to be well situated to do well on this other assignment, which is going to be worth a bunch of points. Um, so when I started grading these, so first of all, there's actually quite a few people who didn't turn it in, which is a little disturbing because, we've had a while, we talked about it. So you can still turn it in late and still get most of the points. And for the people who did turn it in, I am going to have most of you redo it and turn it in again. And I'm going to go over some of the ones that were turned in and kind of show you. Some of them actually did a good job. A lot of them had issues, and I think by kind of going over where the issues are, it will give you a sense on how to revise and what the real expectations are. I realized I had said I was going to upload a sample, and I never did that. So I realized some of you might not have had a clearer view of what to do. Some of them are really off in a way that you'll see. So let's take a look at what we got here. Actually, let me just select all of these and open them all. Hold on, open. Okay, and I'm gonna go share screen. Let's see. Start with this one. And let's see, view. All right. So this one has some real issues that we should look at here. Maybe zoom slightly. All right, so one of the first problems here is it has some information without giving you any background of where it's from. Like right here, while heavy drinking is associated with health risks like liver disease, heart disease, red wine comes with products fermented grapes, contains a variety of polyphenol molecules. It doesn't say where. How do you know? Where is this from? There's a lot of stuff here about drinking associated with diseases, things that are found. You've got to reference. You can't just go say stuff without saying where that information is from. Then we get here, antioxidants, put simply, are free radical fighters that work by eliminating harmful. Free radicals are responsible for a variety of health problems, including not limited to cancer and heart disease. So this looks like it should be right here. Whoops. It says People's 2019. So here this person is saying, here is the information, and this is the reference that they're using. So then if we go further down, we can look at here it says, whoops, people's. So a few things here. One is the reference isn't quite right. If you have Peoples and Saraf and Ghazal and Pham and Kwong, then it should be Peoples et al., Peoples and others, 2019. So when we go back up here, this should be Peoples et al. Rather than Peoples 2019 for an appropriate reference. But there's something way worse going on, way more problematic, I should say, going on here. And that is, if we look at what is Peoples, okay, so actually, I follow up on these things. This article that they're claiming supports their points is nothing to do with it. It's about mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative stress and heart disease. And if you read the abstract and go on, it's not actually supporting their points at all. So as far as I can tell, they oh, let's just put some random reference there and who's going to notice? It's like, I definitely notice this stuff. So, please, and it gets worse actually. If we go back here, of the polyphenols found within red wine, resveratrol, specific importance, especially regards potential of cardiovascular disease, SNOTEP, 2018. If we go down here, well, one thing is just kind of weird. They put Snopek in twice. And also it should be Snopek et al. Again, because there's a bunch of articles. But then if we look at Snopek, yeah, I mean, I don't actually want to go into all the details, but basically, I'd say about 2/3 of this person's references that they're using are actually not they're not supporting the points. So please don't just think like, oh, if it looks like there's things there that it's cool. It actually has to be real. Don't just make stuff up. That's really a bad look. Because then I don't trust anything you do. Um, so this thing has a couple of minor things, like just make sure if you're doing the referencing that you do et al. If it's more than one author. Clean up your references. Don't have like the same reference twice in a row. I didn't mention this, but I will mention it now. You don't actually, for the Harvard referencing, you don't want to put like the website reference. I know that is in that when you're doing the citations straight out of PubMed, but you don't need that part. It should just be the journal. So then we can continue. Let's take a look and look at some other ones. So this one is more on track, but still has some major issues. Right? This one is not having the inline references. They're saying as reported by Rachel Golan, and then we go down here and there is like Golan, Gepner, Shai, but you're not supposed to be like, it's supposed to be that inline reference in the parentheses. Like if you were doing something like this as reported, you would say moderate drinking of red wine has positive effects on health, and then in parentheses, Golan et al. From 2019, right? Instead of per Laura Siegel, it would just be, excessive alcohol consumption increases cardiovascular disease, and then you would actually, I don't even see a Loris a Siga here. So definitely that's not okay at all because they're using a reference of somebody that's not even in the in their works cited. So anything you use here has to be in here, and anything that's listed in the works cited has to be used as a reference in your paper. Right, so this doesn't have any actual inline references and is actually using references that aren't even um, written in the more formal citing. But good thing here is they are kind of going across talking about different studies, that are talking about red wine and health, and they have a little conclusion about what they think. So that's good. Um, this is getting more of what we actually want. Right here we have, they're talking about stuff. They have the reference in parentheses Castaldo et al. 2019, and here it is. So that's what a reference should look like. This person is doing the references the way it should look. The one issue here is, in general, you should not be using direct quotes. This is just kind of a stylistic thing in science writing. You don't take direct quotes from other papers or abstracts. You paraphrase, use your own words. The only times you ever use direct quotes, if there's something that it's really important to use those exact words, like, as Isaac Newton once said, quote, "If I have seen farther, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants," unquote. If there's something really historical or something, you can use quotes. But in general, it's just not done. You don't put direct quotes from other people's. You basically use the information and then reference where you got that information from. So, but again, this is good because they are kind of describing what's been going on, giving the references. Again, this is Golan et al. 2019. This is another way you can use the reference. If you could either say, you can either put Golan in a parenthesis, or if you want to say that group and have them, you could say it this way. And again, this is all in that appendix. So this is way closer to how it should look. Right, so this is looking good, right? So it's kind of talking about stuff, and it's, here's, components found in red wine, such as resveratrol, and quercetin, and then Luigi et al. 2019. That's where that information is from. We go down to the reference list, but then we don't see Luigi et al., so we got a problem. Right, so make sure anytime you have so this again it's kind of bizarre. I don't know how it happened. Now, sometimes they do it well. Bylan, Pudding, Perk, they're here. But then there's this other stuff here. Rachel Yatoff and Iris 2019. It's, maybe there's a page missing when they were doing this. That's one possibility. But except for the missing references, this is kind of looking more like it should look. All right, this I did not even grade. Please, don't turn in handwriting. Please have it typed and turned in. This is, and I don't quite understand why they have half written, half super big font, but this should all be done as a Word document or something. Um, this is not what you should be doing. This might be part of your notes as you're starting the assignment, but this is just like, bullet points. I really wanted you to write, a little thing, a little summary in your words supporting, or that's supported by the different studies. But this is not actually pulled together as an actual little paper or a little essay. So, again, this might be a good start. Like when you're taking your notes, like what are the information I want to put together to be my little paper? But this should not be the thing you turn in. This should be, what you turn in should be like those things I was showing you, where people are kind of using their words to kind of pull things together and tell the story that they found. Again, this is looking more like you'd want it to look. There's, wines played an integral role, blah, blah, blah. From where? Goulford and Pizzuto, 2011. We go down in here. There's Goulford, Pizzuto, the full reference. That looks great. It should be noted this means blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Cholesterol, and there's shrink hand. What a name, shrink hand. 2000, there's shrink hand. And again, it is just one dude or gal. So you don't have et al or anything. It's just shrink hand. Yeah, so watch out your this says shrink hand, and this says shrick hand. So you probably want to double check your spelling and stuff. But this is close. This is getting to what it should look like. Kind of a thing, kind of with your words, talking about what people have found and supporting it with the actual references. And this one also looks pretty good, right? It's talking about stuff. It's got the references in parentheses, appropriately done. Again, there's some stuff weird about this one. Lucas Snopek. I'm not sure why. You don't write the first name. You just write down the last name. And last names also should be capitalized. Oh, this one we've seen already. Oh, so this one here has an issue. It's kind of hilarious. Okay, again, you don't want to use direct quotes, and you most definitely don't want to use direct quotes without attributing them. So like on this one, particularly because, I was like, what the heck is there a 33 in brackets doing there? Obviously, they cut and paste this from someplace because it has nothing to do with anything. So sure enough, I Googled it, and it's just like, straight out directly quoted from the abstract from Castaldo. So, please, if you are going to use direct quotes, put them in quotes. Otherwise, that's considered plagiarism. And if you are doing that, take out stuff that makes no sense. Like having a footnote 33 that was part of the original thing. just makes you look like I don't know, like you're not even like cutting and pasting skillfully here, because you're cutting and pasting stuff that shouldn't be there. So anyway, um, yeah, and again, you want to make sure, in general, you want to use the information, but kind of put it in your own words. What else here? This, you're not supposed to use these numbers, right? You're supposed to be using inline references. They have here reference one. There are journals where you use numbers because it's just more compact, but that's not the Harvard referencing system. You need to, and in fact, this is hilarious because there's two number ones. Which number one do you mean? So if you're going to do something wrong, at least be consistent in doing it wrong. I mean, here it's like, I don't know which number one you're using. But in general, don't use these numbers or footnotes or things like that. This should say, it should say red wine interacting with lipid profiles, increasing insulin resistance, decreasing cholesterol. And let's assume it's supposed to be this one. Then it should just be in parentheses, Cordova et al. 2005. So, this is another one where, again, this might be a good place to start. You've got your references and what they say, and that you're going to integrate into what you write. But this wasn't the assignment. The assignment was write some little essay of like a half a page or a page on what, whether or not the scientific research supports the health benefits of red wine. It wasn't supposed to be like, here's one reference, here's a second reference in a bullet pointed list without any of your own things tying it all or telling the story or your conclusions. So, are there questions about that? Right? So, what I would, some of them don't really need to be rewritten. Some of them need to be radically rewritten. Some of you got to write them just for starting. But definitely, I'm doing this. I'm not going to take points off if to turn it in and rewrite it again. I just decided at some point to just like, I want you to kind of know how to do this well. So when you get to the main research project, that you're going to kind of know what the expectations are. So, I'll probably make it due again like in a week from now. And again, when you're doing it, homework, all major points must be supported with references. Use inline Harvard referencing. Do not use direct quotes. Again, tie it together so you've actually written like a little paper, answering the question, which was, does the scientific literature seem to support or not the health benefits of red wine and all that. So this will still be on your plate. But again, this is going to really be helpful because when you do the next assignment, then you'll know like, okay, I got this.